I'm Dr. Kakaliouras, and I'm an anthropologist here at Whittier College. And I'm here because I teach a class called Sex and Gender in Anthropology. And in that class, we explore a lot of GLBT and queer history. And I'm also here because I'm a queer person who came of age in the early 1990s and came to political consciousness kind of at the same time. And I'd like to briefly talk about Angels in America with an anthropological lens or, with a culture analytic perspective. And I'm going to do something that I don't normally do, which is read something that I wrote. Our reading of these plays, the two plays, comes at a time when the AIDS crisis of the 1980s and early 1990s is being remembered by filmmakers through both documentaries, such as the really excellent How to Survive a Plague, and another great one, We Were Here, and dramatic films such as HBO's version of AIDS activist Larry Kramer's play, The Normal Heart. And you can watch actually parts of the documentaries right here on YouTube. So the question of how to remember the emergence and spread of HIV in the 1980s in the United States is not necessarily a simple one. For those of us who weren't there, or like in my case, too young to understand what was initially going on, memories from those who were there are available through their testimonies in films, in books, and in plays. But cultural memory is complicated, fragmented, and sometimes even misleading. To some, HIV/AIDS was and is a gay disease, a comeuppance, a punishment for bad behavior. But for others, and not just GLBT people, lots of people around the world, HIV was and is a virus, a personal tragedy, a family scourge, a call to protest, and a way to build community. HIV/AIDS gets to be all these things and more, in part because of the ways the 1980s and early 1990s are remembered. And memory is tricky. New neuroscientific research is showing that our individual memories are malleable and can be changed if the synaptic pathways that lead to our neurons are altered. And there's a great New Yorker article from this year, May 19th issue, called Partial Recall that you can Google and read if you're interested. And so cultural memory, or the kind of remembrance that is shared outside of your own experience but common to the members of a given community or region or even a nation, is also extremely tricky. In anthropology, we don't think that cultural memory or even culture is just like out there, a thing that we draw on to learn how to be or act or perceive the world. And this is even too simplistic, but culture happens through our interactions with people, communities, and with institutions constructed and maintained by people from our births until our deaths. So everything we do is complexly shaped by our interactions with other people and their histories. Even all the things we use in our day-to-day lives are created through the imaginations and experiences of people, and then are produced by yet other people. So as we grow and experience the world through the perspectives of our families, biological or chosen, our teachers, our pastors and priests, or our communities, we often incorporate their memories into our own identities, perspectives, and even actions. So for example, memories and histories of the civil rights movement from the 1960s in particular have motivated some people to keep fighting to end racism and have convinced yet other people that race is no longer a serious problem for the United States. So in part, it is different shared memories at work in the present that help to define people, communities, and their hopes for the future. And sometimes it seems as if people are actually living in different worlds altogether, even in the same city, even on the same block. Angels in America is full of these kinds of relationships, and here I'm just going to list a few. So we have Lewis and Pryor, two ostensibly white gay men, the same, but one Jewish and one WASPy, and WASP stands for White Anglo-Saxon Protestant, but both struggling with their family, spiritual, and community pasts in the present. We have Harper and Joe, two Latter-day Saints, or Mormons, both of them living in different worlds born out of their desires and their isolation from each other in their own marriage. And perhaps the most striking opposition, Belize, the perhaps African-American or Afro-Latin American ex drag queen night nurse, and Roy, the conservative, cutthroat, closeted Jewish anti-communist lawyer. If you need more adjectives, I probably have a few. These two are brought together by Roy's illness. The worlds they live in could not be more different, and the scene on page 209 and 210 in our text, where Belize prophesies the nature of heaven to Roy's racist, classist, and homophobic horror, could not encapsulate their difference more, and this is Belize talking about heaven. and what's going to be there. Big dance palaces full of music and lights and racial impurity and gender confusion, and all the deities are Creole, mulatto, brown as the mouths of rivers. Race, taste, and history finally overcome. And Roy simply cannot process that another person would desire to live on forever in such a world.